hate Delaware. I'm sorry, anyone who is from there, it's nothing personal, believe me, I sympathize, I am, after all, from New Jersey. For any of you who are not from up north, let me explain to you why I hate Delaware. I've lived in Virginia for the past 13 years, and for every holiday and weekend that I've had to go home and visit family, I've had to drive the 12-mile stretch through Delaware. And not only is it the most expensive stretch of highway en route, it is also filled with the most traffic. Probably because there is a toll at either end of those 12 miles where all the lanes bottleneck. Now, about 6 years ago, I started dating Russ, a nice Jersey boy living in Centerville. Russ and I weren't dating very long when he and I both decided that we were going to go home for Thanksgiving for the holidays. Now, Russ grew up about an hour southwest of where my dad's house is in the country. And yes, we have the country in New Jersey. But his sister actually lived one town over from my dad, and that's where they were having Thanksgiving dinner, so we decided to carpool. On the drive up to New Jersey, we bonded over how much we both hated Delaware, and then when we got to New Jersey, even though it was really early in our relationship, Russ got to meet my dad, and then on Thanksgiving, I went to his house, his sister's house for dessert, and I got to meet his sister and his mom and dad and his whole extended family. And we got along great, and it was a lot of fun, and they were a really tight-knit family, and that's something I really liked about Russ. Now, 3 months later, we were still dating, and Russ's 30th birthday was coming up, and I wanted to do something special. And I knew how close he was with his family, so I called his mom to see if we could schedule, a weekend away together. And I was thinking something fancy for the big occasion, so I was thinking St. Bart's or Florida, but we couldn't agree on a middle ground, so believe it or not, we ended up booking a house in Delaware. Now, despite our shared hatred of the state, we did end up having a great time, hanging out by the pool, drinking cocktails, eating fried shrimp, and his family loved me. How could they not, right? But they kept saying the whole weekend, you guys would make such beautiful babies. Which, yes, was awkward, but it was also my cue to get out. I knew at this point that Russ was not my soulmate and that I wasn't going to make babies with him. So I broke up with him, which he didn't take very well. He kept trying to get back together with me, and I kept saying no, and he kept trying to the point where he actually proposed to me with the diamond ring and everything. And when I still wouldn't get back together with him, he grew angry and suspicious. Now, I had moved on pretty quickly, and this time it was the love of my life. I mean, Bart and I hit the ground running just a few weeks after Russ and I had broken up for the first of many times. And then I got this nasty letter from Russ accusing me of cheating on him, not only with Bart, but with how many other men he wanted to know, and asking me if he should go get tested for an STD. Not only did I find the letter extremely offensive, I had not cheated on him, and no, he didn't have to get tested, but it was also really eerie because there were all these intimate details that he alluded to in the email that made me think he had some sort of insight into my very personal life. And then I remembered how he had helped me set up my laptop because, he's in IT, and I realized he had hacked into my email server and was reading my personal emails. So I changed my passwords and there was no other harm done, but it was a really crappy end to this otherwise pleasant relationship. I mean, previously I thought if I ever bumped into him, we'd be buddies, but now I got that whole stalker vibe from him. So I started looking around for him before I'd go places, like his office was in Reston, my office was in Reston, he lives in Centerville, I'm often in Centerville, so whenever I'd go out, I'd check the parking lot for his car before I'd go into a restaurant. Now, about 2 weeks after I got this nasty letter from him, I brought Bart home to New Jersey to meet my dad, and while we were there, we decided to go visit my brother. Now, my brother lives in Jersey City, which is an hour further north in New Jersey. So we went out for a meal in Jersey City, and at the end of this great meal at this exclusive Italian restaurant in Jersey City, Bart and I walked to the front of the restaurant, and my dad and family were taking a long time, so we were waiting and waiting, and I turned to see what was taking so long and found myself staring right into Russ's mom's eyes. She was shooting daggers at me like I was the harpy who broke her baby boy's heart, which was partly true. So I grabbed Bart's hand and we ran out of the restaurant as quickly as possible. It was so weird though. I mean, we were like 2 hours north of where she lives and nowhere near where Russ lived, and we ended up in the same restaurant. So when I got back to Northern Virginia, I kept thinking, well, I'm definitely going to bump into Russ now. I mean, I saw his parents in New Jersey. I'm going to bump into him in my backyard. But nothing happened. 2 years later, I married Bart, and about 11 months ago, I got knocked up. And if you're doing the math, no, she's not in here anymore. I have a 2-month-old at home, so nothing happened, and everything was good. And then Bart and I have been raising this little baby girl, and we went home for New Year's Eve this year. New Year's Eve in New Jersey was wonderful. New Year's Day, we drove back to Virginia, which was not so wonderful. As you can imagine, we hit a lot of traffic. We were in the car for 5 hours when we finally got to the Delaware house, which is the midpoint between here and where I live in New Jersey. Now, as much as I hate Delaware, I do like the Delaware house. It's like the only good thing about Delaware. It's brand new, it's clean, it's got good food options. New Year's Day, I was in my first trimester. And for those of you who have not been pregnant, I will tell you, that is a miserable time period. I was nauseous the entire time. My hair was a mess. I had put on 15 pounds. I was wearing sweatpants to account for my expanding figure. When we walked into the Delaware house, normally I would have gone for the Popeyes fried chicken, but since I wanted to puke, instead I went for the sandwich shop because I thought maybe that wouldn't make me throw up. So we got in line and we're reading the menu up above, and then we're done figuring out what we want, and I turn to the person standing in front of me in line, and the back of his head looked really familiar. And then he kind of turned a little, and I realized, yes, we had gotten in line right behind Russ. So I again grabbed Bart's hand and we ran away. Now I wasn't feeling the stalker vibe anymore, but I did look like crap. And no one wants to bump into their ex when they've gained 15 pounds but don't look pregnant yet. So as we hid on the far side of the drink stand, all I kept thinking was, I really hate Delaware.